Hi, I'm Miikka Kulpakko and this is my master's thesis presentation. My topic was bike train integration in the city of Helsinki, assessing routes to the Malmi railway station. I did my thesis for the city of Helsinki and my supervisor at Aalto University was Milos Mladenovic and my advisor from the city of Helsinki was Oskari Kaupinmäki. Here is the table of contents that I'm going to discuss. First, a little bit background and aims of my thesis, then a brief look on the methodology and the results, and in the end the recommendations and conclusions. First, a little background on my thesis. Helsinki has a target to become a carbon neutral city by year 2030. Helsinki wants to increase the use of the sustainable modes in their strategy with both bicycle traffic and public transportation. And the city already has quite extensive rail and metro network. And with the speed of rail and door-to-door connectivity of bike, better bike and train integration could be part of the solution. However, there are limited methods to assess the quality of bike and train integration, and the purpose of this study is to develop a methodological framework to assess the quality of the bicycle network and the ease to transfer from bike to train at the train station. And here are my research questions of the thesis. First, how can bike train integration be measured for the whole bicycle access route leading to the station? And the second one, what is the quality standard of the bike train integration in the Malmi and what can city of Helsinki learn from it? Little bit background to the Malmi as a case study area. It is located in the northeastern Helsinki and it's one of the urban regeneration areas that Helsinki has. The rail line goes between the area and kind of splits it into two, to Ylä- and Alamalmi. The railway terminal also has a bus terminal, and as you can see from this map, the bicycle catchment area that you can be seen light gray is quite large. That's the 15-minute catchment area. Malmi is also developing a lot in the future. There are Northern Bicycle Highway, the Pohjoisbana and Malmi Bicycle Highway bana going through the area. Also the Viikki-Malmi light rail project and former Malmi Airport is going to see some major development in the future. So a little bit about the methodology used. I used multi-criteria decision analysis for the assessment process of the routes, and assessment was made as a case study to narrow the scope. If we go briefly through the flow chart, first criteria and the routes were determined based on the literature review and Helsinki bicycle planning guidelines and the data from the area. Then I had some feedback from the city, and I also made some site visits to the area to refine the criteria and the routes. When the final criteria and routes were determined, I cycled through the routes and video recorded all the routes with a camera attached to a bike. After that, based on the video recordings, the routes were assessed with the assessment tool and the criteria created, after which the criteria had criteria weights were determined to the criteria, and then they were added to the criteria weights were added to the assessed scores, and the scores were then normalized, and that created the final ranking and scores of the routes. Here is the assessment tool criteria on the left that was created. There are 4 main criteria and overall 28 different criteria below the main criteria. First criteria is the individual scores for the line segment. Each route was dissected to smaller parts that were assessed based on the bicycle infrastructure and experience. The second one was crossing scores. Each individual crossing was assessed. Then there was the whole route score that were given to the whole routes from start to finish, and the last criteria was the transition from bike to train score that was scored to the end point at the station. And on the right we see the work of Norrskältema that was used as a background to the criteria assessment tool. Overall, there were 9 different main routes that were assessed leading to the station, but with all the different starting and end points around the station, there were overall 43 different options overall that were assessed. The route ranged from 2 kilometers to 4.7 kilometers, so there's quite a big difference between them, and the routes were mainly part of the bicycle target network of that Helsinki has determined. So here we can see a visual representation how each individual line segment and crossing was given a comparative score. The colors kind of show what are the better and worse sections of each route, and also pictures and video recordings were used to highlight the characteristics and problem areas of the routes. These are then the results of the overall scores. They provided a ranking of best and worst routes, but also not only there was the overall score, but also there was comparisons between the different main category groups of the results. So if you wanted to compare routes of their crossing scores, that was also manageable with these results. And the overall scores also revealed that the assessment tool still, all the categories still need some iteration and tweaking. The results were not as perfect as the final result could be, but it is useful to compare the routes, not only based on the overall scores, but also on a more micro scale to kind of reveal the more detailed picture. And here kind of the problems highlighted by the assessment tool in a more micro scale. There were a lot of kind of too narrow paths, poor surface quality, lack of separations, faded markings, lack of human scale, car centricity, all these things that affect to the experience of the route. Then again on crossings there was lack of smoothness, curbstones, poor separation, poor sight distance, things like these affected to the experience. And on the whole route parts, the route type changed often, there was lack of coherency, there were many detours, and the routes were poorly guided. And on the station level, the parking infrastructure lacked quality. It was not well guided or well connected to the route. And the station entrances were not attractive, and walking distances can be long to the station. So here are some of the recommendations based on the study. Routes to the railway station should be considered as a whole. From the actual route leading to the bicycle parking and to the train, the whole trip chain has to work. The route should be safe, direct and intuitive, and bicycle parking is only part of the station experience and the bike and train integration overall. And the possibilities in improving the station catchment areas should be prioritized when the new target network is to be built. And guidance to the station and also to the parking is very key factor to the integration. And in case of the Malmi, which can be said also for a lot of stations, is that they heavily need some redevelopment to accommodate better bike and train integration. And also bike share should be considered more, how it's integrated to the station to kind of serve as an access and egress mode better. And the mode should be better marketed to kind of get people to know about this possibility better and not just use walking or public transit to access the stations. So in conclusion, Helsinki has great potential for better bike and train integration, but conditions around the station area, especially in case of Malmi, can often be poor, and improving the bicycle traffic conditions around the stations and the stations themselves should be considered as a priority for better bike and train integration experience. Thank you.